Bitcoin has dropped by 3% since yesterday. Is this a new reversal and a new downtrend to the downside, or are we actually just looking at a few profits being taken before we continue the upward momentum? In today's video, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and opinions as to where I think Bitcoin is heading on the short, medium, and longer term. And as I get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, and let's take a look at what's going on with BTC. So here we have Bitcoin paired up with the USDT. We're on the 1 hour Binance chart here, and you can see that we have obviously been a bit of a run to the upside since we hit our targeted range down here on Friday the 6th at 2100 UTC. We had a bit of a run to the upside. Yesterday we did have reach a double top situation. I'm going to just draw this in here. You can see that the area of resistance on the Monday the 9th of September at 2100 was this little pocket here, 57,454 to 58,088. And you can see yesterday we rallied up after trying to find some brief support on the 200 hourly EMA, which you can kind of see right here. I'm just going to highlight those areas. And you can see right now we're battling this area at the point of recording. So for reference, guys, I'm recording this at 6 a.m. UTC. So this will go out at approximately 9 a.m. UTC by the time I've edited it all up and all that kind of stuff. So it's about 3 hours delay from when I'm recording to when you see it. Now, here we can see a very interesting structure as we find or trying to find support on the 50 EMA, 50 SMA, 200 EMA, all that's kind of happening right here. There's a little bit of a golden cross on the 1 hour time frame. The yellow line is the 50 simple moving average, crossing higher than the 200 exponential moving average, the white line. So a little mini golden cross there, but it does look like we had an impulsive breakdown. So let's go ahead and take a look at this in a bit more detail. Measuring this distance here, so from the 1900 hours last night down to the wick low that we had on the 2100 hours, we can see here that we bounced up, that bounce being on the 2300, and we come down and we cross the 1.618. Okay, so we are impulsive to the downside, and it looks to me like we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we completed a 5-wave pattern. If we take a look at the wave 4, we can see that we overextended here on the 5th wave movement. I'm going to take this to a 15-minute time frame just so you guys can see. We overextended on this move to the downside because typically this wouldn't go down this deep. Let me show you that right here. You would see that this should have stayed above 56,320. There is obviously a pocket of buying happening here, and it is of course on the 15-minute time frame a little bit of resistance being found. So what I'm suggesting is that maybe we haven't quite finished this entire structural move to the downside just yet. So we'll keep a close eye on that. But for the most part, we're really close to it. I don't think it's got terribly too much more to the downside before we see a little relief rally. If we take a look at the stochastics, you can see it's oversold. We will be looking for a positive cross on that as well in a moment. So suspect that we are likely to see a push up. That move to the upside is going to kind of push potentially up into this area of previous resistance, coming in at around this kind of 50% level at 57,141, potentially push a little bit higher than that. If I draw this in reverse here, we can see that slightly differently, specifically as we start to think about this upper area of 57,353 as well. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in the pocket of resistance as I see it right here, okay, and I pull that across these fibs. You can see that this area is 57,218 to 57,468, and you can see our 50% fib level would be 57,141, and the 382 would be 57,353. So essentially, it looks like there's this huge area here of concern where we might see the price push up to, get rejected, and move to the downside. 5-wave patterns like this, they can appear in a couple of areas. We've been through this many different times. It is possible that this is a part of an irregular flat, indicating that we don't have to see further downside. The reason for that is you would have a kind of structure point, actually it would be a 335, sorry, my apologies there, just a regular kind of correction, flat correction just like this, okay, 335, 3 waves down, 3 waves up, and 5 waves down. Okay, so it does look to me like we don't have to push down once more. We can actually see this as a reversal pattern on the 1 hour time frame. So maybe there is going to be upward momentum that breaks up higher than these resistances. But either way, we are going to be paying close attention to those resistances, specifically in these little pockets. 57,200 to 57,500, and even this upper area of 57,450 to 58,000. These are going to be key areas. If we get a higher high on the 1 hour time frame here and we break through all of these, then yeah, we're on a 335 flat correction here. We found support and we rallied, which would be fantastic. Otherwise, we look at this through the bearish lens. If we do get rejected here, that we have another 5-wave move to the downside and we continue this a bit more of a reversal in the market. Okay, now all in all, on the 1 hour time frame, we've seen great growth so far. The 5-wave move is a little bit hit and miss because of where it currently sits. We're sandwiched between a 3-wave move down and a 3-wave move up, indicating this is highly probable to be a 335 correction, meaning that we are going to be looking to see that continued push a little bit higher. We're about 1 week out from when the Fed are likely to reverse or cut their interest rates, and that's going to be very interesting. So this could be building up momentum to a big sell-off event happening next week. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Otherwise, our stochastic RSI is in an okay position. We will be looking for reversals here. The 4 hour time frame is showing shifting to the downside quite heavily though. And so like I said earlier, right, we're going to be looking and monitoring these areas of previous resistance. If we only kind of see a 3-wave correction up here and we kind of find this upper area of resistance, our next expectation would be to go short there if we get confirmation of rejection, and we look for this to be a kind of zigzag pattern at best, and maybe even a impulsive breakdown on a larger macro scale. So we want to be a little bit cautious with that. It could be possible here that we have found that local top at the moment for BTC. Stochastic RSIs would indicate to us that a relief rally on the 1 hour time frame up into the resistances and then further downside on the 4 hour time frame. That's something that we need to be very mindful of when it comes to Bitcoin. If we turn that off and bring on the divergence indicator here, we can see that we did see hidden bullish divergence yesterday at 1500 hours. If we bring back the chart here, you can see that this was just before we got this run to the upside. Okay, so that 1500 hours was a new bearish one, but it shows that we actually have higher highs with the higher lows here, whilst going down lower on the relative strength index, the yellow line, basically indicating that we had hidden bullish divergence and we saw this run to the upside. It was a great long position if you were monitoring the charts back then. And we haven't got any of that right now. We are lower than the 50 level, so momentum has turned bearish for BTC here at the moment. So we'll keep a close eye on that, whether or not we are going to find resistance and just get rejected, or we can rally on through it. We'll be keeping a very close eye on that for the 1 hour timeframes. Okay, if we bring on these smart money concepts, there is a fair value gap right in that area of resistance, right? So we know that there's a fair value gap here. There's possible that we go finish that, claim it, and then move down to the bigger fair value gap and support around the equilibrium. This idea supports the idea that we are in an ABC structure like this, where we see the zigzag pattern go down to find support on equilibrium and claim that fair value gap that was left behind on the 1600 hours on Monday the 9th. Okay, so really interesting stuff going on there when it comes to BTC's price action, indicating that we are more than likely going to see this as a zigzag pattern, although I'm hopeful that we can find it as a flat correction instead, which would be, again, the correction where it's finishing here and we get a big run to the upside. That would be my hope, but the fear would be that we are, in fact, just in the zigzag pattern looking to come down. And Smart Money Concepts is telling us that, yes, there's a fair value gap right in our range of resistance, and there's a fair value gap down at equilibrium where we'll find brief support. So for the most part, Smart Money Concepts is actually a little bit more bearish than bullish overall, even though we do see a few break of structures and things on the smaller time frames. The bigger macro picture here on the 1 hour time frame, I know that's a macro picture, but on the 1 hour time frame, we are still bearish structure from Smart Money Concepts. So unfortunately, yeah, we look for more moves to the downside overall, and 𝗕𝗘𝗪 continues to be doing its thing. So let's go ahead and roll this up into a daily. Okay, our daily time frame, I'm just going to go ahead and actually remove that noise from the daily time frame, so visibility off the daily. Here we can see obviously a bit of a reversal. We obviously tapped into this range already in the lower side, and we are still targeting down at that $40,000 to $44,000 down here. It's 40,295 to 40,800. That's the target range that we kind of have. Higher or lower highs and lower lows on the daily time frame, but this is an incredibly bullish pattern overall. I know we've been doing this and talking about this from March. The overlapping nature of these candlesticks is not bearish in my opinion. It's just a kind of consolidation, a ranging market, although going down slightly deeper in terms of price. This isn't anything to be afraid of. If we zoom out far enough, we can really see why that is. We haven't had any kind of like big, scary mass sell-off events where we see big drops in Bitcoin that doesn't have an overlapping structure. We only have the overlapping structure, which basically is an indication that actually things are likely to recover. The more scary kind of markets would be something to this effect, where we see this kind of 5-wave drop to the downside, where we have a big sell-off event with very little overlapping nature of the candlesticks. So you see sell-off, pump up, sell-off, pump up, and that pump up here doesn't cross any of these other consolidated ranges. So when we take a look at our current market, we can see all of this overlap. This tells us actually the market's very, very good. It's not in a bad position, in my opinion. And of course, you can see when we have these kind of overlapping structures, what tends to happen. So here's an overlapping structure, and we have a bit of a pump to the upside. Obviously, the pandemic is a little bit different, but you can see the overlapping nature of these candlesticks over here in 2019. We push down, we push up, and you can see how this overlaps. You push down and you see how this overlaps over here as well. Even though we went down into lower lows and we had lower highs here, the overlapping nature of the candlesticks tells us that although this is a correction, it was quite a deep one here at 53% during those Fed pivots of 2019, it's still not a bearish pattern. We still have massive breakouts to the upside afterwards, right? And that's kind of what this pattern is telling us here at the moment on BTC on the daily time frame. So although for the most part, I know it can be a little bit scary, it can be a little bit daunting to see the market kind of bleeding out the way that it has done, but this is stuff that we've been talking about for a while. So any OGs of the channel who have been watching us for a while know that we've been talking about all of this kind of stuff for months at this point. And we are kind of really prepared for what happens next. But you guys can let me know what your thoughts are on all of this in the comments down below. Where do you sit with BTC's price action? How low do you think we're going to go? Do you think we're likely to see a breakout from here? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, or join us in our free Discord server linked in the description. If you haven't done so yet, guys, check out this video right here. It's not one you're going to want to miss.